In this assignment, you will be starting with the file that already has the floats written in it. We created the floats for our navigation, and we created the floats for our different boxes. This is the result. You will need to move the navigation, and I have instructions for doing that. We need to have the header and the navigation inside one div in order to place them together. We are going to create a fixed banner up here, and when the page scrolls, the rest of the content will be scrolling behind it. Notice I left a gap at the top of the page because sometimes it's nice to see the information going by. We will also be taking the last paragraph and creating the overlay effect using it positioning. So we have our relatively positioned container and our paragraph is absolutely positioned. You will need to set that to 100% width, remove the bottom margin, and add a transparent color background. I also added some padding. Notice that this caption will be larger than the other due to the amount of text. Should you wish to remove some of that text to make it look more consistent, that is fine. We use the position property set to fixed for our fixed banner up here. You will need to wrap a div around the header and the nav in order to place them both inside one container. If you give it an ID, that can be your selector to set the fixed positioning. There are a few little issues that will occur, and I would like to point them out. To begin, when you set the fixed position to the banner, you want to make sure that you set the top and left values. Should you wish to put it all the way up, that's fine. However, make sure you set them or else the banner may not be where you expect it to be. You also need to set the width of that banner to 100%. Notice that because the banner is now out of the normal flow, everything else moves up in the web page. We see our image is behind the banner. Therefore, you need to set a top margin on this aside, which has this image, in order to move everything down. Another issue that happens to arise as we scroll down, notice the items with the relative position are on top. This sometimes happens with positioning. This is an issue of what's called a z-index. Even though they are relatively positioned and they don't move out of place, they still are positioned and therefore they could be out of sync with the z-index. What you need to do is put a z-index property on this banner. Give it a value of 1 or higher. In the layering perspective, it will be on top of everything else and the content on the web page will be behind it. When I have set those CSS properties, now you can see that my image is in view where you expect it to be, and when I scroll, everything scrolls underneath my banner because my banner has a higher z-index than the rest of the page. The page has no z-index, so therefore giving the banner a z-index puts it out front of all of the other content.